Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the spring semester 2021. I hope you guys had a wonderful break. What I'd like to do at this time is just go over the syllabi and the class schedule for this spring. And just a few reminders. Again, we will be doing online learning, and it'll all be done through Canvas. So you always need, the first thing you should always do when you go to is sign in, check in with Canvas, then go to, first thing you want to do is take care of attendance. So make sure you go to discussions and sign in. That is how attendance will be done throughout this semester, unless something changes, in which case I will let you know. But always go first thing first, sign in Canvas, go to discussions, sign in so that you've taken care of your attendance. The next thing you need to do is run and check through the announcements. I post a weekly announcement whenever there's something new that you need to know about, or relating to assignments or school activities or otherwise. It'll always be posted weekly within the announcements. So after you sign in for attendance, always check the announcements. It's very important you check the announcements. Sometimes you may miss some really important information if you don't go there next. After the announcements, then you should go to assignments and follow all the directions that are there provided for you in the assignments. Usually there'll be a series of videos on the topic for the week, usually some anatomical references. Then there's always, almost always, there will be a live pre-recorded demonstration. And then make sure that you do the drawings from the PDF that is provided for you. So you have various ways to receive all the content. You will be getting it through the lesson part through video. They're pre-recorded live sessions. The demonstration is a pre-recorded live session. And then if you're having internet access issues, you can always download and print out the PDF, and you can still do the assignment that way. So once again, just like in the fall, everything will be laid out for you and provided for you in Canvas. So I tried to make it as simple and user-friendly as possible. And if you have any questions or you're having any kind of difficulties, you may contact me through Canvas inbox. Most of you did that throughout the last semester, and I check that pretty frequently, and I'm able to get back to you just as soon as I am able. And if you're having further difficulties and you would like to have a live conference in Teams, that can be arranged as well. And then we can go over some things in particular if that will help you further. So that's the basic plan throughout the spring. I don't know if we're going to be back in the classroom. It's my understanding we should be doing distance learning at least for all of quarter 3 and possibly for quarter 4. We'll receive notice later in the school year if we're going to be able to get back into the classroom. And if that's the case, I'll be sure and let you guys know. So what I'd like to do at this time is go over the syllabi, the class schedule of all the different activities that we'll be doing throughout the spring. The emphasis was on Artistic Anatomy Human in the fall. We will be transitioning from Artistic Anatomy Human to Artistic Anatomy Animal in the spring. However, one thing I'd like to point out, there's a couple of things we did not quite get to or finish in the fall that I feel are really important and kind of fun to learn. So we're going to begin the spring semester with just a few things that are still related to the human before we move fully into the animal anatomy and the comparative anatomy. So going over the schedule, when we first get back, one of the first things you're going to get is a student reflection with just some fun questions and some questions that would be helpful for you to address. And that will be one of your first assignments, is a student reflection. After that, we'll move on into the actual drawing process again. So make sure you get all your materials, get your sketchbook in, get your drawing pencils, erasers, white pencil, all the stuff that you need for your drawing. Make sure you order that right away so that you don't fall behind. With the other video I have provided, you should be able to reference all the materials that you need. And I also will have a PDF online that you can print out to find whatever materials you need. So I'm not going to cover that in this session. We'll just be going over the class schedule. So after the student reflection, the first thing we're going to get to is drawing the human hand. The human hand, I think, is really fun. It's something that I in particular enjoy doing, and that will be the first drawing topic of the new year, was drawing the human hand. After that, we will move on and spend a little time drawing the human foot, and then from the human foot we'll move into drawing the human skull, going over some of the anatomy of the human skull, the proportions of the human skull, and so forth. Those I will have pre-recorded live lessons covering all the anatomical features as well as demonstrations of each of these. So that should be helpful for you. But remember to make sure that you follow along with the PDF that's provided, because that ultimately is the assignment you probably will be drawing from and need to make sure that you submit. In some cases, the PDF is the same as the demonstration. In some cases, I add additional PDFs so that you have other information to work from as well. So make sure you go through all of those carefully. After we do that, which would be the hand, the foot, and then the head, and that'll take up 3 or 4 weeks at least, then we'll begin to move on to studying skulls, and that will be kind of the biological anthropology, where we will look at skulls from different ethnic groups. Most of these are older, some date back 2,000-3,000 years, and I have some skulls that we will look at. I will point out certain anatomical features and do a few demonstrations along that line as well. After we do the ethnic groups, we'll do something that I think is really fun. We will be drawing some heads, what I refer to as the grotesque and divine. And so we'll do a series of drawings of grotesque heads and possibly the divine heads. And I think that the grotesque heads in particular are really fun, because the more you mess them up, the better they get. So you can't really go wrong with those. And that will be the last thing that'll be related to the human figure. After that, we will go into the greater apes. The first section on the greater apes will be covering the chimpanzee and the bonobo. The following week, the greater apes, we will cover the gorilla and the orangutan. And then right after the greater apes, we'll move into birds. And we'll spend a couple of weeks drawing from birds. First, we'll do wading birds, parrots, and we will do the only flying mammal, which is the bat. So that's the first group that we'll do covering birds. We'll talk about the anatomy. We'll compare it back to the human skeletal structure so you can see all the similarities and the differences. The following week, we will cover the great raptors, and we will talk about and draw from the harpy eagle, the golden eagle, and the bald eagle. So we'll do the great birds of prey the following week. The last week will also be the raptors, but in particular we'll be drawing from the great horned owl and the snowy owl. There's some very interesting features about owls that I think you'll enjoy. After the birds, we will then move into cats. This should get us pretty much close to the last 9 weeks of school. And we'll start off with the smaller group of cats, which is known as the felinae. And it'll be the small cats, domestic house cat, cheetah, cougar, bobcat, all the smaller cats. And we'll talk about some of the differences in size, the differences in their eyes, and so forth. And we'll go over proportions to help it make it easier for you to draw each of the animals' heads. The following week will be the Pantherinae, which are the large cats. We'll do probably do a drawing from a saber-toothed cat, a prehistoric cat, the African lion, the Siberian tiger, leopard, and jaguar. And we'll talk extensively about each of those, and you'll learn proportions and how to draw each of their heads. And I think that you'll find that very interesting. There's a lot of similarities between the small cat and the large cat, but if you can draw one, it's much easier to draw the others. Dogs are a little different. So after the cats, we'll move into the dogs. In particular, we're going to be focusing on the wolf. We will talk a little bit about the anatomical structure of the domestic dog, and I'll give a little side comparison of the hyena, just because it's has a lot of interesting qualities to it. But dogs are not necessarily as easy to draw as cats, because there's so many different species of dogs, and the variety and the size and shape of dogs changes dramatically. However, the skeletal structure does remain the same. So we will focus a little bit more on the skeletal structure. We also will compare that back to the human, the ape, and the cat, so that you get to see some comparative anatomy as well, which is pretty interesting. After, we'll move from the cats to the dogs. After the dog, we'll spend a little bit of time on the bear, and there are just a few species of bear left. We'll go over each of those, and we'll do a couple of drawings and demonstrations of the bear. After the bear, we will spend a week drawing the horse and kind of the spirit of the horse. We will definitely cover the anatomy of the horse, but we then may branch out a little bit and add a little bit of a fantasy element to the drawing that you draw. Possibly, maybe we'll make a unicorn, a Pegasus, or maybe we'll just keep it as a regular horse. We'll see how the class is progressing up until that point. Then we get to the last couple of weeks, assuming we don't run out of time. Then we'll be covering, the last couple of weeks, we'll do a couple of sections on mammals that are horned or antlered. So I have some really interesting skulls of a variety of different animals with different shapes of horns, and we will study those a bit. We'll talk about different types of locomotion and things of that nature, and we will then do a few drawings from the antlered and horned mammals. And that should get us to the end of the year. So again, just make sure, the important things to remember is that all the sessions at this point will all be pre-recorded. They're live sessions, but they're pre-recorded. I have multiple classes within every period, so it's not possible to structure a way to do an actual live session. So all the sessions will be done pre-recorded live, which I've found a number of students who have had my classes in the past actually prefer it, because when I'm demonstrating in the classroom, sometimes my back blocks their view or they can't always hear. And in the video recordings, they found it very useful because they are able to pause, replay the sessions, and go back over it and watch it numerous times. So hopefully you guys will continue to enjoy that. If you have any other suggestions or are finding something that is difficult or not working out for you, please let me know. I'm really open and flexible to working with you. And I want you to be successful in my class, and I hope that you find it very interesting and that you learn a great deal, not just about drawing, but also about anatomy and science and a few other things that exist in nature. So I'm looking forward to the spring semester. It's one of my favorite topics to cover. And I hope you enjoyed as much as I do. Let's have a great spring, and I hope you had a wonderful break, and I look forward to getting work in from all of you. It was amazing, some of the work that I received last fall, some of the best work I've ever received in the fall semester. Congratulations, you guys. So that sums it up. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me, again, through Canvas inbox. Look for your first assignment. It's coming up pretty quickly.